The world has nearly ended more times than you think. A single glitch, a lone spy, one wrong turn, and suddenly history is hanging by a thread. Today, we're breaking down the most unbelievable war stories ever recorded. The nuclear alarm that almost wiped out humanity. The spy who tricked Hitler for nearly a year. The sniper who became a ghost on the battlefield. And the bizarre weapons and desperate tactics you were never taught in school. These aren't myths. These are the real moments when the world almost snapped in half. Before we start, hit like and subscribe, or Napoleon will show up and judge your height. How the world nearly ended in 12 minutes. In a chilling twist of fate, the world nearly ended in just 12 minutes. This is the story of the Stanislav Petrov incident, a moment that could have erased humanity from existence. Most people believe there was only one missile alert, but the truth is far more terrifying. The Soviet Union received not one but eight separate confirmed warnings of incoming ICBMs from the United States. Each alert came with a chilling classification: launch confidence high. The radar system, designed to prevent such catastrophic failures, was supposed to detect missile launches by infrared signatures. Yet, in a bizarre turn of events, sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds triggered the alarms. A cosmic fluke that slipped through all safety checks. What's even more astonishing, Petrov wasn't even supposed to be on duty that day. He was filling in for a sick officer, a strict soldier who would have followed protocol and reported the attack. That simple decision saved millions. If Petrov had reported the alerts, Soviet protocol demanded an immediate launch. There was no time for verification. A false alarm would have unleashed every warhead in the USSR, forcing the U.S. to retaliate in kind. In less time than it takes to boil an egg, humanity stood on the brink of annihilation. Thanks to one man's instinct and courage, we're still here to tell the tale. How one spy fooled Hitler in 11 months. In the shadows of World War II, one extraordinary operation turned the tide of history. Meet Operation Mincemeat, a daring British deception that fooled even the sharpest minds in Nazi Germany. Imagine a dead body washed ashore, carrying top-secret documents that would change the course of the war. The plan was audacious. The Allies needed to mislead Hitler into believing they would invade Greece instead of Sicily. Enter the unlikely hero, a homeless man named Glyndwr Michael, whose body was transformed into a British officer. His identity? Major William Martin. The documents in his briefcase? Carefully crafted lies that would send the Nazis scrambling. But the deception didn't stop there. Double agents played a crucial role, feeding misinformation to the enemy. With bizarre gadgets and clever tactics, the Allies created a web of confusion. Fake radio transmissions, misleading photographs, and even a fabricated love affair, all designed to keep the Germans guessing. As the operation unfolded, a series of strange accidents and coincidences added to the chaos. A misplaced letter, a curious fisherman, and a chance encounter all contributed to the success of this elaborate ruse. In just 11 months, Operation Mincemeat not only misled Hitler, but also paved the way for the Allied invasion of Sicily, a turning point in the war. In the end, one spy, a dead man, and a brilliant plan changed the fate of nations. The power of deception proved that sometimes the most extraordinary victories come from the most unexpected places. Sniper who shot over 500 enemies. In the chaos of World War II, one soldier stood out among the rest, a sniper whose incredible marksmanship would become legendary. Meet Simo Häyhä, a Finnish sharpshooter who claimed over 500 confirmed kills, making him one of the deadliest snipers in history. As the Winter War raged between Finland and the Soviet Union, Häyhä took to the snowy landscapes armed with a simple bolt-action rifle. He preferred to work alone, blending seamlessly into the white terrain, using the snow to his advantage. His secret? Patience and precision. He would wait for hours, sometimes days, for the perfect shot. But it wasn't just his skill that made him a formidable opponent. Häyhä had an uncanny ability to remain undetected, often taking out multiple enemies before they even realized he was there. His tactics were so effective that Soviet forces began to fear the White Death, as he was dubbed. Despite being wounded in battle, Häyhä survived the war and returned to a quiet life in Finland. His legacy, however, lives on, inspiring countless stories and films about the art of sniping. In a world torn apart by conflict, Simo Häyhä's story reminds us of the extraordinary feats one individual can achieve, even in the darkest of times. How one World War I miscalculation led to 100 million deaths. It all began on June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo, when a single bullet changed the course of history. Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, a member of a nationalist group. This act, seemingly isolated, ignited a chain reaction that would engulf the world in chaos. In the wake of the assassination, Austria-Hungary issued an ultimatum to Serbia, demanding harsh penalties. Serbia's response was deemed unsatisfactory, and within weeks, Austria-Hungary declared war. But this was just the spark. Alliances formed decades earlier pulled nations into the fray like a game of dominoes. Russia mobilized to support Serbia, Germany backed Austria-Hungary, and soon the entire continent was embroiled in conflict. As the war escalated, the horrors of trench warfare emerged. Soldiers faced unimaginable conditions, with millions trapped in a brutal stalemate. The introduction of new technologies like machine guns and poison gas turned battlefields into hellscapes. But the consequences didn't end there. The Treaty of Versailles in 1919 imposed harsh reparations on Germany, sowing seeds of resentment that would lead to World War II. The death toll from both wars combined, a staggering 100 million lives lost. All of this, all because of one fateful decision made in Sarajevo. A single mistake that spiraled into a century of conflict, reminding us how fragile peace can be. Why German soldiers injured themselves on purpose. In the chaos of World War II, a shocking phenomenon emerged among German soldiers: self-inflicted injuries. But why would a soldier harm himself in the midst of battle? The answer lies in desperation and survival. As the war dragged on, many soldiers faced unbearable conditions: exhaustion, fear, and the haunting specter of defeat. Some sought to escape the horrors of the front lines, believing that a self-inflicted wound would grant them a ticket home. It was a calculated risk, a way to avoid the grim reality of combat. But it wasn't just about escaping the battlefield. For some, it was a protest against the war itself. Disillusioned by the Nazi regime and the senseless violence, these soldiers chose to injure themselves as a form of rebellion. They wanted to send a message. They were not willing participants in this madness. As the war progressed, the practice became more common, leading to a troubling cycle. Soldiers who injured themselves often faced harsh penalties, further complicating their already dire situations. Yet the act of self-harm became a desperate cry for help in a world that had turned upside down. In the end, these self-inflicted injuries revealed the profound psychological toll of war. They remind us that behind every uniform, there's a human being grappling with fear, trauma, and the quest for survival. The scars of war run deep, often hidden beneath the surface, telling stories that echo long after the battles have ended. Pigeon-guided missiles. In the chaos of World War II, a bizarre weapon emerged from the shadows: pigeon-guided missiles. Yes, you heard that right. Pigeons! Imagine this. Military strategists were desperate for a way to guide bombs to their targets without relying on complex technology. Enter the humble pigeon, known for its incredible homing ability. The idea was simple yet outrageous: train these birds to navigate and direct missiles to enemy positions. The project, codenamed Operation Columba, involved attaching tiny cameras to pigeons. Once released, they would fly to their target and the missile would follow their path. It was a mix of ingenuity and absurdity, blending nature with warfare in a way never seen before. But here's the twist: despite the initial excitement, the program faced numerous challenges. Pigeons got distracted, lost their way, or simply refused to cooperate. The military soon realized that relying on birds in the heat of battle was far more unpredictable than they had hoped. In the end, the pigeon-guided missile project was scrapped, leaving behind a legacy of what could have been. A testament to human creativity, it reminds us that sometimes the most unconventional ideas can lead to the most unexpected outcomes. Reverse bullets in World War I. In the chaos of World War I, a shocking innovation emerged on the battlefield: reverse bullets. Imagine a weapon designed not to kill, but to maim. This was the grim reality of the time, where the goal was to incapacitate rather than eliminate. These reverse bullets were engineered to create horrific injuries, ensuring that soldiers would require extensive medical attention. The strategy? To drain resources and morale from the enemy. A wounded soldier meant two men out of action: the injured and the one who had to carry him away. As the war dragged on, the use of these bullets became a dark tactic. Soldiers faced not just the threat of death, but the agony of living with devastating injuries. The psychological impact was profound, leaving scars that lasted long after the guns fell silent. But why did this brutal approach gain traction? In a war defined by trench warfare and stalemates, every advantage mattered. Maiming became a strategy of attrition, a way to prolong suffering and weaken the enemy's resolve. In the end, the legacy of reverse bullets is a haunting reminder of the lengths to which humanity can go in the name of war. It's a chilling chapter in history that reveals the true cost of conflict, one that echoes through time, reminding us of the horrors that can arise when compassion is cast aside. How 6 hours ended the Pacific War, Hiroshima. On August 6, 1945, the world changed forever in just 6 hours. In a moment that would define the course of history, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. This was not just an act of war, it was a demonstration of unimaginable power, a weapon that could obliterate a city in seconds. As the sun rose that fateful morning, the people of Hiroshima went about their day, unaware of the horror that was about to unfold. At 8:15 a.m., the bomb, nicknamed Little Boy, detonated with a force equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT. The explosion created a blinding flash, followed by a shock wave that flattened buildings and incinerated everything in its path. In an instant, 70,000 lives were lost, and countless others were left with devastating injuries. But the destruction didn't stop there. Over the next few hours, the aftermath of the blast revealed a haunting scene. Fires raged across the city, and survivors wandered through the ruins, their lives forever altered. The psychological impact was just as catastrophic as the horror of nuclear warfare became painfully clear. By August 9th, just 3 days later, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. The combined devastation forced Japan to confront an impossible choice. On August 15th, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's surrender, effectively ending World War II. In just 6 hours, Hiroshima became a symbol of both destruction and the urgent need for peace. The world would never forget the lessons learned from that day, as the shadow of nuclear warfare loomed large over humanity's future. War isn't shaped by armies, it's shaped by moments. A false alarm, a forged letter, a single bullet, one impossible shot. Every story you just heard proves how close humanity has come to disaster, and how often we survive by luck, instinct, or one person making the right choice. If you want more war stories they never taught you in school, make sure to follow, because the next one might be even stranger.